You have to fail more. He says you got to step up your failure rate.
All you entrepreneurs out there, that cell phone is your lifeline out of this mess. Use it.
If you do not change that talk in your head, you'll always be the poor person.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 and 9. For my top 10, top 10, 9 and 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best.
So today, let's learn from one of the best, Robert Kiyosaki, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1, fail more.
I got a job with Xerox because they had sales training. And then for 2 years, I was the worst salesman they ever had. I was going to get fired from Xerox. And so I went to my rich dad and I said to him, why? What's wrong? He says, how many sales calls do you make a day? I said, on a good day, 3. He says, that's why you're not successful. Same formula. He says, you have to fail more. He says, you got to step up your failure rate. So I found a nonprofit, and at night, after I working at Xerox, I would go to the phone bank up the street from where I was working in Honolulu. And I had a goal. I had to fail 35 times that night. So I just failed 35 times. Now, interesting thing happened. My numbers at Xerox went up. You see, I was handling that fear. I was handling the wimp in me, the coward. And most people don't want to go through the wimp. And that's why I don't have much time for them.
Rule number 2, borrow and buy assets.
Do you know why they tell you to save money?
I don't know.
Because the system of banking, it's nothing to do with communism or capitalism. It's the banks run the world. The rich run the world. They don't care if you're communist or capitalist. So when you save, let's say you save $1 US or €1, 1 yen, the banking system can lend out 10. So the entire system is called the fractional reserve system. The fractional reserve system is also printing money. And then they tell you to save money. So they want you to save money so they can lend out your money 10 times. So your dollar became worthless 10 times over. And then they used to pay you 10% interest on your money. Now it's at best 1%. And they're still lending it out 10 times. So that's why you don't save money, is because your money is becoming worth less and less and less and less and less. The banks are getting richer and richer and richer. Then they tax you on that interest they pay you. That 1% interest, if they pay you that much. Japan is 0. And the Japanese are so stupid, they still save money.
We also have 0.
Yeah, and they still save money. How stupid is that? So that's what I would question. So how come that happens? Now, if I borrow money, guess what? Do I pay taxes on debt?
I guess no.
Why is that?
I know
this is what I'm saying, okay? Question everything.
Okay.
So when they lend out money, that's how money is created. Money is debt. They lend out them. Why is debt tax-free?
I don't know.
Because that's how money is created. And so the banks love it. They love people who borrow lots of money. So how do I get rich? I borrow money. And I buy assets with it. The poor person borrows money and buys liabilities like purses, cars, houses, and they get poorer and poorer and poorer. But I use debt. I borrowed $300 million after the crash, dollars. In 2000, by 2010, I had borrowed $300 million to buy real estate. That made me rich. And the interest rates kept coming down, so that my cost of money kept coming down. And so everybody else is saying, oh, you should get out of debt. You know why? Because they don't question the hypnosis they're under. You've been hypnotized to work hard for money, to save it. The fractional reserve system prints it. And then you pay taxes after taxes. So I have all this debt and I get rich.
Rule number 3, keep your word.
It's a great time to be an entrepreneur because if you're smart, you have a good spirit, and you'll learn quickly. See, the greatest thing about an entrepreneur is how fast can you learn? You know, when you look at the 7 deadly sins, the biggest tragedy is ego. So ego or vainglory is the road straight to hell. And so you got to, I tell you I made mistakes. I tell you I screwed up. I'm definitely on the short list for saint. But you'd better be honest, and people trust you, and you better keep your word. You know, you're only as good as your word.
Yeah.
So actions and words must be in integrity.
Rule number 4, rewire your brain.
That's why in 1997 I created the cash flow. 96 created the cash flow board game. It's the only game that teaches you accounting by having fun. So the cash flow game I play at least 10 times because each time you play, you're learning something new. Well, what the game is doing, because you have to move pieces and write and all this stuff, is moving your neural pathways. You have to train, the most important thing is change the neural pathways in your brain. And the brain is driven by your heart. And when I meet somebody with an employee's brain, they say, I want job security. I want a good pension. Does that have medical benefits? That's their brain. It's them. I can't help them. They got to rewire the brain, because the economy takes place between this year and this year. That's where the economy takes place, and in your heart and in your guts. I started playing Monopoly. I was 9 years old, and everybody's played Monopoly, except I play it in real life. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel, tax-free. And if you're really going to learn to be rich, you have to learn how to sell, how to use debt, and how not to pay taxes. That's the game.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, I've designed a special free training to help you do it. The science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a new habit. And I want that for you. I want you to build the habit of self-belief. So what I'm going to do is email you every day for 254 days a link to an unlisted video that will shift your belief forward. To get on it for free, the link to join is in the description below.
I don't cheat on my wife. I don't cheat on my customers. I don't cheat people. I don't cut corners. If I can't do something, I'll tell you up front. If I screw up, I'll tell you. People always kind of dump on, fast food industry. If I had to do it again, I'd go work for McDonald's. Look, I have an unfair advantage, I went to war. And at war, I'm alive because other guys died for me.
Rule number 5, transform.
That's why I said, when I saw that iPhone come out, I said, all you millennials or all you entrepreneurs out there, that cell phone is your lifeline out of this mess. Use it. So what we're doing today is anti-fragile. We're wartime leaders, and we're going to come out of this better. I don't know how, but it's called metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is like when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. That's metamorphosis. And the definition of metamorphosis, you can look it up in the dictionary, is the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. Immature form to adult form. In other words, grow up. So for some of us, this crisis will grow up. We'll come out of it anti-fragile. We'll come out stronger. And that's why I've been watching my tweets. I say, the best teachers are on YouTube, not in school. Because most school teachers, and this is what Jordan Peterson is saying, he said, Jordan Peterson's being attacked by his own school teachers because they are pussies. They're all these guys, and they tend there, they need job security, they need protection. The world's a terrible place. Capitalists are crooks, and all this stuff. And it's a free country. You can listen to those guys if you want, or you can listen to Patrick McDavid. So your thing on the military leader versus the peacetime leader was prescient. It was one of the most important lessons everybody should look at. They have to ask yourself today, am I going to be a military leader and come out of this anti-fragile and stronger, better, healthier, or am I going to be crushed by what Fuller called grunge, the gross universal cash heist.
Rule number 6, focus on infinite returns.
I encourage anybody listening to this or any entrepreneur, get to the point where you don't need money. It's called the infinite return. And that's my next book coming out next year.
Yeah.
When you get to the point where you don't need money, you're home free. You'll never need money. You don't care. You can always put a deal together. You can always create an asset out of nothing. You know, it's like, I don't know what else. It's the power of God-given power. So like I said, when I write a book, I'm selling 50 copies, 50 licenses day one. And let's say I get 10,000 a license. How much is that? 50 times 10,000. Is it 500,000?
50 times 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, 500,000.
Yeah. So I'm in the black immediately. What does it cost me? Maybe 10,000 to write a book. You know, so I'm in the black. The same thing if I trade a stock. I would buy a stock at $1, it goes up to 10, and I sell. So I have all free trading stock. I have no money in it. That's what Buffett's doing. They're all infinite return guys.
Sure.
You have no money into the deal. And you can do it with anything.
Rule number 7, question things.
Today, if people complain, I don't make enough money in Romania. Well, you have a cell phone. You can make money all over the world. You can make money in dollars, yen, zlotnik, pesos, It's just limited thinking. If a person doesn't change what's inside their head, the actual thoughts running their brain, which are words, they'll never change. So the change begins when you question. Go to school, get a job, work hard, pay taxes, save money, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. Until you question that one, nothing changes.
Rule number 8, use tax breaks.
There's 3 kinds of income. Okay? There's ordinary, portfolio, passive. So when you say to some poor kid, go to school, get a job, they're working for ordinary income, the highest tax income in the world. I don't work for ordinary income. I don't want a paycheck. Okay? Passive income is generally what happens when you invest in the stock market. I mean, portfolio income. So they say, well, I bought Tesla at 100, it went up to 200, I sold it, so I made $100. That's portfolio income. That's taxed at the next higher level. So when I have passive income, it's tax-free. Getting passive income, you have to know what you're doing. So that's why I have the best, first of all, bookkeeper, accountants, attorneys, bankers. I operate as a team. Just like when we flew into combat, we're a team. And most people are trying to do it self-employed way. I'm a good computer programmer. Good. You pay the highest taxes, you work the hardest, you don't get ahead that way. But that's what most people, they want to do it on their own. If you want it done right, do it by yourself. And an employee is always saying the same words, this year and this year. I'm looking for a safe, secure job with benefits and a paycheck and a pension. You got that? That's what they're looking for. So if I have a job, I'll help them. And a self-employed person says, how are you doing? I'm the best. Good, I'll hire the best. But the government's going to penalize you for that because you're working for a blended income. But it's more passive income. It's actually ordinary income, but you pay the highest taxes. The tax law are nothing but incentives, not punishments. So if you donate, I just donated money to the food bank because they're out of food, so it's $10,000. I get a tax break. I don't donate money to the food bank, no tax break. So because I have 7,000 rentals in apartment houses, I got a tax break. You know why? Because I'm providing housing. And because I have thousands of employees, the tax break. The government even sent me money to pay my employees.
Rule number 9, consider currency.
What do you recommend people do in a market that is potentially heading into depression? Should they be saving cash and thinking about, becoming more liquid? Like what are some of the things that they should do?
Well, it depends upon the cash. If you're in Argentine, is it pesos?
Pesos, Argentine pesos, yeah.
I wouldn't touch it. I'd save gold and silver. See, what's his name? What's his Bridgewater's guy?
Ray Dalio, yeah.
He says it depends upon the currency you're in.
Sure.
He says, so like Zimbabwe, their debt is financed with external money.
Japan is internally financed. So that's why the depression doesn't hurt them as badly. So you have to learn so much about that. So I own millions and millions and millions and millions and millions in gold because I started buying gold in 1973 when it was illegal for Americans to own gold. And I like gold and silver because there's no counterparty risk. There's no other party to it. Gold and silver are God's money. So people say, well, it's not a good investment. I said, yeah, but I sleep at night. What's that worth? You know?
Sure.
So I don't care if the dollar is corrupt, the U.S. dollar is corrupt, but it's the strongest currency in a horrible currency world.
Yeah.
So if you're U.S., save dollars. You're in Argentina, don't save gold.
Right.
Save Bitcoin.
You think Bitcoin would be?
I mean Bitcoin's got its problems too. But
sure.
I'm saying, I would. So when you say save money, you got to say what
currency?
Yeah, what currency?
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is understand the game.
The very guys that went to the schools, the best schools, created these fake assets to make themselves and the 6 major banks richer than ever before. They produced sugar highs of immediate profits, but separated those taking the risk from those who would bear the consequences. So the way out of it is for financial education. And you can do it. Everybody can do it, but you have to understand the game. After 1971, this is what happens to people who save money. The purchasing power of the dollar is going down because they're printing money. And our school teachers, these fake teachers, again, they're good people. Well, these financial planners still tell you to save money. Well, why would you save money when these guys are printing it faster than you could ever save it? That's bad teaching, bad financial advice, horrible. So he says, and then the second thing, they tell you to save money and invest for the long term in the stock market. This guy is saying, are you nuts? This is Stockman. He was Reagan's budget director. He's a real teacher. He was there. This is the whole stock market is rigged for the rich. Again, it's a casino, and a casino is depends upon all these losers coming in, so those at the top can win. So the losers started coming in right around here, 1974. It was a thing called the 401k. They needed more losers to enter the market. And what do the financial planners tell you? Save money and invest for the long term in the stock market. They needed people to come in here and push this up. Again, it's a casino like Las Vegas. A lot of losers walk in, winners walk out with the money. That's the game. Now again was Glass-Steagall. They organize hedge funds that turn owning a stock into a minute, 2-minute bet rather than invest for the long term. It's a casino. We don't know when, but it will come down. Then all those guys with those 401ks, toast. That's why the Rich Dad Company was formed. That's why I catch so much hell saying savers are losers, you know. Why invest for the long term in the stock market when it's a casino? My concern is the old guys like me are sitting there with their retirement plans, which are broke. You know, the California retirement system is broke. Hawaii retirement system is broke. Chicago's retirement system is broke. And if and when this baby comes down, my generation is toast. The way out is through real financial education.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video, and what is your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of actually doing something and following through. That, Believe Nation, is not enough. 35% is not enough. We gotta do something. But when you get inspired by watching a video like this, and then you create a plan of action, your chances of following through jump to 91%. And when you commit publicly, like putting your comment down below with your plan, it jumps to 95%. That's what I want for you. I want you to take action. Your dreams are too important. Your life matters. Your mission has to happen. So, question of the day, your biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week, put it down in the comments below, and I'm gonna celebrate alongside with you.
The property was a little condominium, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $18,000 US. It was on the beach of Maui. The reason the price was so low is the market had crashed. Smart investors always wait for the crash. So this thing crashed. I had to look at 100 properties once I left the class, 3-day class. I had to look at 100 properties in 90 days and write a 1-page report on each of those properties. As my instructor said to me when I left that 3-day class, I was 26 years old. And the instructor says, your education begins when you leave the class, as your education will begin when you leave this class, not now. So you have a chance to talk to Carlos, you have a chance to talk to Alvaro. Talk to them, find out, learn. Doesn't cost you any money. Change your ideas. So with this here, the instructor said I had to buy the investment for zero money. Okay? Zero money. Most people will tell you, I can't invest because I don't have money. That's a loser. Please understand this. This was 1974. The dollar had just gone off the gold standard. Everything was coming up fast. So I had to figure out how to buy it for zero. And the reason I say that is most poor people, like Padre Pobre, always says, I can't afford it. I know some of you right now are saying, well, I can't afford it. I don't have time. I have children. I have a job. I have bills to pay. And it is those excuses that keep you poor. If you do not change that talk in your head, you'll always be the poor person.
I just think about the economy, business, world affairs. I want to, my job is to make complex financial systems simple enough so the average person can understand it. That is extremely difficult because most people are brainwashed when it comes to money. Go to school, get a job, work hard, pay your taxes, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. Everybody who follows that program has been brainwashed. I don't even care about money. I make a lot of money because I understand the system. I would never go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, buy a house, and invest in the stock market. I do everything exactly opposite.
You wake up tomorrow morning, let's have some fun with this. You wake up tomorrow morning and you're on the street and you have nothing. You don't have a single contact in your network. All you have is the knowledge and experience that you've had throughout your career. How do you build up from there?
Well, I've been there many times. So it's no big deal. You just figure out what's needed and wanted and you go do it. You know, people always kind of dump on, what do you call it, fast food industry. If I had to do it again, I'd go work for McDonald's. And the reason I go work for McDonald's, you know, whether it's $7 an hour or 15, I don't really care. I don't really like McDonald's food, but they have the best business systems in the world. You know, how else can a company take virtually non-college educated people and build a fast food industry across the world? And they have the best system. So right inside little McDonald's, you can learn everything you need to learn about business except for the management side of it. So I just go work at McDonald's so I can learn even more. So I look at life as learning. I'm constantly learning. You know, I'm reading constantly, studying constantly. I spend most of my time with entrepreneurs. I don't spend my time with people who complain about the economy, you know. So nothing will really change. I just go back to being an entrepreneur. You know, if you want to stay small, be the smartest guy on the block. And that's why most accountants, most attorneys, most doctors never get rich. It's because they're too narrow. You know, they're experts in toenail removal or something, you know what I mean? Or my attorney, that poor guy is an A student, but he knows jack about outside of that. Whereas I never had, I flunked out of high school twice because I can't write. It's irony that I'm a writer today. But the reason I'm pretty good is because in the military, we're taught to be generalists, not specialists. So when I sit down with my team, I have accountants, I have attorneys, I have media guys, I have IT guys, I have graphic designers and all this. So I operate as a team since I don't know anything. So in actuality, being a great entrepreneur means I could be the laziest guy and I can know the least. But I have to have a very smart team with just a ring finger around me. So because I was never smart, I had respect for people who are smart. And a lot of times I meet A students and they think they're the smartest guys on planet Earth. And that lack of respect is what keeps them small. And that's what most corporate guys want to do. Stay small, you gotta climb that corporate ladder, you gotta beat the other guys for the job, and it's all that stuff. It's not the way an entrepreneur really works. It's corporate. It's school system. You gotta beat out for the grades, you gotta have the best grades. I don't have to be the best, but I have to hang out with the best. Well, the thing is, you see, when people, economies go up, economies go down, we might go into a depression worldwide. Like I said, France is in very big trouble. Germany's okay. England's in big trouble. China's in trouble. So if we go that, we go to a worldwide depression, and it might take 10 years, to come out of it. But during these times, this is the best time. I have made more money in the last 3 years than ever before in my life. I bought five golf courses last year out of bank.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, the bank.
Courses.
Yeah, Donald bought 10. They're giving them away.
No one told me.
Yeah, but you have to know how to operate them. You have to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So the banks just call you up and they say that there was 5 golf courses and 1 hotel.
In the States?
In Arizona, yeah, Golf Mecca, And this Japanese company had it, and they asked me if I wanted to buy it about 5 years ago for $260 million. And I said, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at $260 million. So they told me I didn't know what I was doing. They said, okay, buy. And then 1 year ago, this summer, the Citibank called up and says, you want those golf courses? And they gave me the money to buy them. One of the things I stress here at Rich Dad, which I didn't do for much of the time, was because once Kim and I had enough money, the question is, what do you do next? And if Kim and I had continued to work for money, I think I would have died. So when Kim retired, she was 37 and I was 47. But just as we said on this with Vontae, it's one of your primary objectives, especially today, is when do you plan to retire? Because the idea of having a job and waiting for your 401k or your stock market to save you, I think you're going to be sadly disappointed, because what I'm foreseeing is a massive crash coming. It's going to wipe out a lot of people. And I'm coming out with a new book called Who Stole My Pension? And all these guys who think their pension is safe, I think Wall Street has other ideas on their pension here. So when I say to young people like you guys, I said, plan your retirement the day you start working. When do you escape from the rat race? That's the cash flow game there. I only became an entrepreneur because it was the greatest challenge I could take on as far as my personal education, personal development.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to make money, and as I said, my first business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business, and the mistake I made, I was successful. And we grew internationally so fast, I just couldn't finance my success. And so I started borrowing money, and which was good. I started to learn how to raise capital. I learned how to negotiating, the reason I was in Korea fighting Taekwondo was I was out there negotiating anyway for production, because we were manufacturing in Hawaii where the cost of manufacturing was too high.
Sure.
So I had to fly to Korea and Taiwan to negotiate manufacturing. I tell you, man, you're not stupid until you're negotiating against Koreans and Taiwanese, man. Those guys had me coming and going up one side and down the other. But that's what I did it for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Is to learn. And to learn to finance, learn how to factor, how to ship and then factor my inventory and all this stuff. And I learned so much as I was going broke, successfully going broke. And so when I explain to young people, that's what I did it for. That's how you get smarter. But in this academic culture, we're just talking about Jordan Peterson, how he rails up against academics. Well, in the academic culture, the person who makes the most mistakes is a stupid person.
But an entrepreneur, the person that makes the most mistakes and learns from them is the rich person. So I always say to young entrepreneurs, it's not, money will never make you rich. You know, it's your experience, how much you learn, the mistakes you make, the people you make. And although there's horrible experiences, they're all good experiences if you learn from them.
Sure.
And that's the attitudinal difference of an entrepreneur. Most guys are small business guys, they're not entrepreneurs. You know, they open a pizza shop to make money and they get stuck in that pizza shop forever. You know, well, that's not me. And the subject of entrepreneur is a massive subject. So you got a drug dealer peddling drugs is also an entrepreneur, as is Jeff Bezos, running the biggest product-pushing company in the whole world. They're both entrepreneurs. But the gap between the drug dealer and Bezos, massive. So when I speak to young people, I say, what kind of entrepreneur do you want to be? And if you're just here to make money, since you can do that, but it's not exciting. Entrepreneurs have one thing in common. They keep going. They'll change the rules. They'll reinvent the rules. You know, they don't just take one answer. So a real entrepreneur, it really makes no difference which country you're in. That's my beliefs. I
love that.
You know what I mean? It's just a mindset. You know, it's if you mess with me, I'll find a way around it. You know, I have a friend, he's multi-family rich guy from France. And, you know, France is as communistic as it gets.
75% top line for $1 million earners.
Yeah, but that's why he lives here. So he started buying vineyards in Napa and Sonoma. So he went back to the French government and says, it's his wine. He says, I want to ship my wine in bulk to California. And the government says, you can't do that. So
this is the French government saying you can't ship it.
And here's the guy, I think he's 5 generations, you know, French wine guy. This guy is an entrepreneur. He says, okay, I can't ship him in barrels. The guy goes, yeah. He says, okay, I'll ship him in bottles. So he bottled all of his stuff. It cost him more money, but he still figured out how to do
creativity.
Do you know what I mean? And now he has his wine with his California wine and all this. And so he went back to the French government and said, here, try this. See if it's not better. And so now they're all confused because he didn't break any rules. So I'll say it again. Entrepreneur is a mindset first, a skill set, and rules. And depending upon whether you're an employee or a small business, the rules are different. The mindsets are different. The skill sets are different.
What's your philosophy when it comes to human resources? How do you get the right people? And then how do you keep the right people?
It's the most important part of business. You know, that's why I went to military school. Then I was a Marine Corps. The reason when I talk to military veterans, you probably have the most important skill of all, because all we're trained to do, whether you're a general or a private, you're taught to be leaders. It is a number one skill of an entrepreneur is people skills and leadership skills. And unfortunately, most people don't have it coming into. So when I do my talks to veterans and all this stuff, I really want to encourage them, you know, because they're pretty depressed because they can't get it. You know, they're a Walmart greeter, which is a good job, but they're afraid to take the leap into entrepreneurship. So, but military guys, I don't care what branch of service, just by the indoctrination process and the survival rate, whether you go to combat or not, is that you learn leadership skills, people skills. You've got to have that. You know, whether you're a team of one, you still have to deal with your customers, and the good customers, bad customers, lawsuits, taxes, government regulations, and all this. They're all people skills. You know, so when somebody says to me, what do I need to learn? I said, boy, you better learn how to communicate pretty quickly to people you don't like and get them on your side. You know, how to win friends and influence people. Basic book. The number one skill of an entrepreneur is people skills. Well, most successful entrepreneurs have gone bust, right? Yeah. You know, Henry Ford, an old-time entrepreneur, he went bust 5 times. Okay, look at Steve Jobs.
Yep.
His own board fired him.
Yep.
You know, Bill Gates was taken before the Supreme Court for monopolistic practices.
Right.
Even my friend Donald Trump went down $1 billion.
Yeah.
I only went down $1 million. So the average person is so afraid of those losses, they never get ahead.
because at school they teach you if you make a mistake or if you fail, you're a failure. But that's not real life. A baby learns to walk by standing up and falling down, standing up and falling down. And our school system punishes you for making mistakes. That's why my poor dad, an academic, was so unsuccessful. He was terrified of making mistakes. Well, as we know, there's fewer and fewer jobs. You know, American corporations say they're hiring, but they're not hiring in America, they're hiring overseas. But more than that is that the reason I endorse network marketing is most people are addicted to the paycheck. And the paycheck is one of the most sinister plots ever pulled upon a human being. If you need a paycheck, you've sold your soul. You know, you sold your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotions. You sit there in fear of losing your job, or can I get a raise, or, you know, will I get promoted? I mean, and then why would you do that? Another thing about the reason we endorse network marketing, we don't think of it as a network marketing, we think of it as entrepreneur development. Because if you need a paycheck, this is not your business. You know, we build businesses. So sometimes when Kim and I do a deal, we may not receive a paycheck for 5-6 years. You know, and so these guys come, oh, am I gonna get rich quick? You know, and some people do, I don't know if you do or not, but that is an employee, get rich, loser mindset. And so the thing that network marketing does is really kind of cure you of that loser paycheck, get rich quick mentality and actually build a business. You know, we build businesses, and that's how we're rich, but we didn't get rich quick, and I don't need a paycheck, and I never want a paycheck. So that's kind of a revolutionary thought to most people up there who went to school to get good grades and get a job. You know, and then you get a high-paying job, and the higher-paying job, you pay higher taxes, and you wonder why you never get ahead. That's because you went to school to get a job and a paycheck. You've got to get away from the paycheck, and sometimes it might take 2-3 years to get away from that. And that's what network marketing teaches people. It's an entrepreneur's mindset, it's an entrepreneur's spirit, not a loser employee, I need a paycheck mentality. I'm trying to explain to you, when they tell you get out of debt, that's because the money is debt. And the only way money gets out of debt is via taxes. So all the people who work for money, you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's lesson number 1?
Rich people don't work for money.
Correct. Money is debt. I use debt as money. And everybody thinks getting in debt is bad. Well, who told you that? I think the stock market is for losers. Why would you put money in the stock market when it's manipulated? That's what I think about. So I'm always watching the manipulation going on behind the scenes. That's what my brain is focusing on all the time. And I don't pay taxes. The question is, how is it I don't pay taxes? And I can tell you. That's an important question, because most Romanians and most people in the United States cheat on their taxes because they hate taxes so much. But you don't have to cheat on taxes if you understood how money was working. You think Donald Trump pays taxes? No.
Nobody has seen his tax returns.
Yeah, I know him. He's my friend. We don't pay taxes. That's the question. How is it we do that? That's an intelligent question. The reason you can't ask me this question because you don't know how I do it. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm constantly thinking about, how do I make money? How do I serve more people? How do I create new businesses, make more money, and pay less taxes and serve more people? I am very shy. Very, very shy. You know, I came back from Vietnam and I could kill people, but I couldn't talk to people. And one day I said to when I decided to follow my rich dad's footsteps, I just said to him, I want to be an entrepreneur. He says, you got one problem. I said, what's that? I said, you're shy. I said, what's wrong with being shy? He says, you got to sell. You got to handle rejection. Number 1 skill. Can you handle rejection? Answer is no, I couldn't handle it. So I said, I was told I want to learn how to sell. So this was in 1973, I was 25 years old. And my rich dad said, how's your love life? I said, it sucks. He said, getting laid? I said, no.
He says, because you can't sell. Guys got it? So when I talk about what skill do you need, when the hits the fan, you better start selling. So I went to work for Xerox in 1974 so I could learn how to sell. It took me 4 years. Then I was #1. Okay? And today I'm a best-selling author. You know, most PhDs tell me I can't write. Yes, I said I can't write, but I can sell. If you can't sell, you don't make money, period. End of statement. You know, just because you have a product doesn't mean jack. But the important thing is you start. You know, I don't care what product you start with, but you start. You know, I started off with nylon wallets. Success wiped me out. You know, we couldn't sell, and all of a sudden it took off. Then I couldn't finance because the sales kept going through the roof. Now, trouble is I kept borrowing and I couldn't sustain the sales. Next lesson. But that's how we learn. Okay.
You know, I don't know if you saw me on Patrick Ben David. You know, that guy's a genius, man. I love working with him.
He's smart, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's smart. I used to work with Tony Robbins, and he has that quickness of brain.
Yep.
I'm a little Hawaiian, a little slower. But anyway, he goes, I told him, I said, you know, during the agrarian age, the church was the center. So every small town had a church. So it was very spiritual, and that was the culture. We shifted to the industrial age, and then weaponry came up. So we could now kill. You know, it went from swords to guns to machine guns to rockets to drones, you know. So during the industrial age, they started building statues to war heroes. So that was, you know, as a Marine, they have the Marines raising the flag on Iwo Jima, and they have Robert E. Lee and Grant. And so everybody respected war heroes and stuff like that. Now, they're tearing down Robert E. Lee and Grant and all these guys because America is now worshiping the victim.
Victim mentality.
The victim mentality. And that's what I said on Patrick Bet David. And a couple of my friends called me and said, you're an a-hole. And I said, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but I've been called better, you know, and stuff like this. But I said, we're raising victims. Our schools are pumping out victims. And the reason I like this guy, Jordan Peterson, is he says, it's not what a person stands for. You see that? He did this great thing. It's what are they against? He says, a lot of times they'll stand up there and say, well, I stand for socialism, but they're really against the rich. And so that's why when you talk about Andrew Yang and Pete Buttigieg and all this stuff, I wonder what they really stand for. What are they really fighting for? So I'm upfront with you. I'm fighting for capitalism.
Yeah.
You know, I fight for education, that we should have better education. I'm not saying anything else inside that. I don't have a hidden agenda.
Sure.
So when these guys are talking about we're going to fix the homeless, I said, what does that mean? And so what Jordan Peterson says, they're against the rich. They're not for the homeless. They're against the rich. And that's where most of the people on the left are. And I don't know that because I'm not political, not Republican or Democrat. You don't have any religious agenda. You know, you want to believe in God, fine. Don't want to believe in God, fine. But I want to know what you really stand for, not what you pretend to be standing for. You see, there's 3 types of ways people work. Number 1 is a job. Number 2 is a career. And number 3 is a calling. So let's look at it this way. It's not the job you do. It's your point of view on it. So a school teacher, I would say probably 30, 40%, it's just a job. You know, they're school teachers not because they like teaching, but they like the benefits, they like the pay. You know, for them, the paycheck is the reward for doing something they don't want to do. The second is a career. So a school teacher goes in that this is my career. You know, someday I'll be vice principal or, you know, some superintendent and things like that. So that's their career. And then we've all had teachers where their whole life soul is in teaching.
Those are the best teachers.
Well, those are the ones I remember. I also remember the ones who were the job guys. They were the worst, some of the worst I've ever had. You know, I just argued and fought with them. They're the reason I left school. So when I talk to entrepreneurs, I say, is it just a job?
Is it your career to be an entrepreneur, or is it your calling? And there's nothing right or wrong. You just be honest with yourself. You know, right now I'm going to start a taco shop because I need to make some money. Knock yourself out, you know. But when I started my first business, it was not to make money necessarily. Money is important because money is fuel for the business. But I wanted to learn to be an entrepreneur. So I started nylon Velcro wallets. I don't love the product. The product sucks. But I wanted to be a great entrepreneur. So I was willing to do a product that I wasn't passionate about, but I was passionate about learning to be an entrepreneur. And then when I became successful as an entrepreneur, I have enough money. I said, what do I want to do next? You know, I retired at 47. I had enough money coming in. And I said, well, I hated school. I love education. I just hated school. I loved most of my teachers. I just hated school. You know, because every time they said to me, go to school and get a job, I said, but I don't want a job. I want a business. You have to get a job. Do you know what I mean? It was the programming I didn't like. So with that said, I became an entrepreneur in education. And today I make millions as a teacher, but I make it as an entrepreneur. So when people say, well, don't you have enough money? I said, it's not about the money at this point, because I have plenty. It's about the job. You know, it's what's my calling. What's what Bucky Fuller said? You must trust your intuition. You know, and it's called your gut feeling a lot of the times. And scientists have just recently found out there's actually brain material in your gut. That's why you get a bad feeling. And that's kind of where intuition comes from. It's more from your gut rather than your brain. And my intuition kind of changed because I went to Vietnam twice. I was a good Marine, U.S. Marine pilot and all this. I was doing it for God, country, and America, you know, all this stuff. And one day I was standing on the battlefield in 1972 and I said, what am I doing here? You know, why am I killing these people? I don't hate them, they don't hate me. And that's when my life, you know, you start waking up as you grow older. So I learned to trust my intuition and say what I had to say. Like this book is about the future also. Fuller was a futurist. So for me to write Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 1997, nearly 20 years ago, was about the future. It wasn't about 1997. The question I ask you is, are you following the herd? You know, the herd generally goes off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. You know, how many are doing what your mommy and daddy told you what to do? Go to school, get a job, invest in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs. Is that what you're doing? Are you hoping that the next person elected, whether it's President Trump or one of the other candidates, will save the economy? Well, we have a very important show for people like you, because this program is about you have to do the exact opposite of what everybody else is doing. Because if you keep doing what everybody's doing, I'm afraid everybody's going to go off the cliff. And that cliff is not too far away right now.
Well, you know, that's why I keep saying to the millennials, you know, they're a pack of wimps. You know, I meet millennials who are just horrifyingly weak. Snowflakes, I call them. You know, They go to college and
doormats.
They're taught trigger events or whatever. You know, I don't know what they say today, but they've got to have special rooms where there's no whatever. I'm going, holy mackerel. Welcome to the real world, you know? And there's other millennials who are as tough as nails. I mean, this is the biggest opportunity they've ever had.
Huge.
So it just depends upon what's between this year and this year, what's in your heart.
The big question is how much is enough? You know, because I think the reason Kim and I are successful is we always started small. Mm-hmm. We actually stay small.
Kitchen table.
And we do keep doing the same thing, but we don't ever try to get big. We got big, but I think we got big by staying small.
We did. I mean, our core group is very small.
Yeah.
And then we license out.
So for those of you who think you have to start some mega company or make millions of dollars, that's not really true. A big part of what makes a company successful is whether or not they have a brand, B-R-A-N-D, almost misspelled it. Okay. And brand, people think, well, it's the communication, you know? But a brand is more than that. The reason Rich Dad is so valuable right now is because it is an internationally known brand the same way as Trump is known as a brand. And the real question on a brand is not just communication. See, a brand makes it easier to sell. When somebody says Rich Dad, they go, oh, I think I heard of that, or I know what the guy stands for and all this. So what a brand really is the entire BI triangle. If you're going to create a brand, especially in a world that's overcrowded with advertising, communication, the webs, iPods, print, blogs, I mean, there's so much competition now for a person's time. It really is more important that you become a brand. So there's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Ferrari, you know, you get a picture of something in your mind. It's a whole body effect. But if I said Hyundai or Kia, you know, car, they're probably just as good a car, but you get a whole different emotional effect just by the brand name. So I'm not saying Hyundais are better or worse than a Ferrari, but I'll pay more for a Ferrari than I will for a Hyundai. I don't own a Hyundai, by the way. I own a Ferrari. What does it mean? It's a shortcut communication. Like if I say the word Apple, you know, some people think of computers and some people think of red apple. But for the guys like me I'm an Apple fanatic, you know, the brand means a lot to me. I love Steve Jobs. He's one of the best entrepreneurs in the world right now. And if I say the word Marine Corps is a brand. It communicates everything, the mission, the team, the leadership, the style, the message. You know, the Marines have a saying, we're only looking for a few good men and women. That means we just don't want to be like the Army. We have to position ourselves away from the Army, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, and the Navy. So brands are so vitally important as a communication tool, especially in today's over-communicated to world. There are more people competing for your customer's mind, their time. You know, how many blogs can you read? How many magazines can you read? How many television sets can you read? How many games can you play and all this? So today, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it becomes more and more important that you become a brand.
I always say quit your job, but that's not, you know, I don't have a job. I've only had one job. And I never wanted a job after that because I had to be hungry. Not to say, you know, but we're all different. We're humans, we're different beings. If I show you this diagram here, you know, it's why I created my cash flow board game. Mm-hmm. Because we have 4 different intelligences. We have mental intelligence. We have, I don't know what that one is, physical intelligence. You probably have very good physical to make, you know, football and all that.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence, but spiritual intelligence. So I went to military school in New York. The first thing is spiritual. You know, I become a Marine. It's spiritual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're putting your life on the frickin' line.
Yeah.
You know, so Nassim Taleb, you know, wrote the book, The Black Swan. He also wrote Anti-Fragile. He says there's 3 kinds of people in the world. There's fragile, and that's what our school systems are putting out. Fragile, wimpy, snowflakes. And that's your choice. You want to be that way? Have a good life. Mm-hmm. The second type is that, so a fragile is like a champagne flute.
Yep.
You hit it, it shatters. Then the second one is called robust. And a robust person is like the rock. You know, you can pound on them, dump on them.
Yeah.
They take it. But that's all they do. They take it. And then anti-fragile is somebody like you, where they pound the crap out of you, and you get smarter and better because of it. Mm-hmm. So I love Nassim Taleb. You know, a lot of people call him Dr. Doom. But the way I look at this whole thing, this economy is, we're probably going into a depression. You know, we're not going to get out of this one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And so the thing is this good for you or bad for you? I'm looking forward to it. You know, the last crash was 2008. And I made more money in 2008 than in my whole life. So this one here, 2000, you know, what is it, 2020? I'm going to get even richer. But other people are going to get poor. And if they're baby boomers, they're going to blame it on this coronavirus. Oh, my, you know, hey, hit the road, put on some running shoes, change your diet, get some sunlight, you know, get healthy. Don't be a wimp. But, oh, no, I'm so afraid of dying. I'm going, you're already dead. You don't even know it yet. You know, in the Marine Corps, we used to call them corpse people.
Right. Corpse, not core, yeah.
A corpseman. No, a corpseman. A corpseman is a person who's dead but doesn't know it.
Wow.
They're so afraid of dying, they're already dead.
Yeah. It's about taking action, taking control of your life, taking control of your health, your finances, everything.
This is the best time to be alive right now.
I don't know what people think about money, but that's what I get a lot of is kind of this, well, you know, money's not spiritual.
I'm just saying it's your attitudes, a person's attitude towards money. I make a lot of money, but I give a lot. You know what I mean? It goes to biblical principle: the more you give, the more you receive. So when I meet somebody who's doesn't have any money, it just means they're not giving something. Yeah. So a lot of times there's people who would like more, but they're not giving anything. Yeah. So they're like my poor dad. He belonged to the labor unions, and he wanted to work less and get paid more. Well, that's anti-religious to me. Yeah. If you want to get paid more, work more, give more. That's how I see it.
I'm one of those kids that didn't like school. School is good for people who like school. But here was my poor dad, head of education, PhD, on the governor's board of Hawaii and all this stuff, and his kid, me, and I'm flunking out of school because I can't read, I can't write. And I said I couldn't read, I couldn't write. I was bored out of my mind. I was just, hey. So what I did instead was, that's when I met my rich dad, who was my best friend's father, and he used these things called a game. See, games are the best teaching tools. See, when I'm playing this game, this is how the rich taught their kids battle strategies called chess. My rich dad taught me to be a rich man playing Monopoly. We played Monopoly hour after hour after hour. The formula for great wealth of Monopoly is 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. So today in Arizona, I own 8,000 greenhouses and several red hotels. I just play Monopoly for real. So that's the power of a game, because a game engages me mentally, physically, because I actually have to move things, emotionally, because when somebody knocks me out, I better wake up. I made a mistake. And spiritually, because it's spirit that wins. If you just saw Golden State play the everybody's. I love LeBron James. I love Cleveland. But one guy cannot take on a team. Mm-hmm. And I think LeBron scored 60% of all the points in assists and all that, but a better team beat him. So when you look at business is the same thing. Business is a team sport. I have to have good accountants, good attorneys, good marketing guys, good tech guys, great staff. I have to have great leaders, The trouble with most entrepreneurs are self-employed. So they quit their job. And, in America today, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, says there's 28 million small business owners. 28 million. 24 million are classified as non-employers. Remember, they're a one-man team. They'd be like this guy, say, okay, I'm going to take you on. Are you crazy? But that's what most entrepreneurs are trying to do. Because that's what they're taught to do in school, to be the rugged individual. In school, I was very successful as long as I could cooperate at test time. But in school, cooperation at test time is called cheating. In the real world, the guys that have the biggest team win. So all I focus on is putting the best team together. Meanwhile, a lot of the time, the A students in school, they're the doctors and lawyers, they're sitting there all by themselves. They're sitting ducks, but they're entrepreneurs. Do you know what I mean? It's just a mindset, tactics, strategy. I went to military school. I'm a former Marine. So I think like a military operation, which I love chess. So most entrepreneurs, they have this job, and they go, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. And this guy's just massacre him.
That's very good.
Because they went to school, they learned to get a job, and they take tests on their own. They have to be the smartest. That's like the LeBron James. I don't want to be the smartest guy on my team, but I want to have the best team. Mm-hmm. And that's why I win most of my games.
That's great.
I think like this, and the doctors think like this. I'm going, yeah, I got you, man. For some reason, I get this sense I'm going to win. I made my usual wise-ass remark, only lazy people use their own money. And that's because I have spent much of my life raising capital. Today you have crowdfunding and all that stuff. But the reason I had to learn to raise money was because I had no money. And so if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, in there, my rich dad always said, never say, I can't afford it. And it was my rich dad and many of my teachers subsequent to that. They said, lazy people always say, I can't afford it. I don't have the money. That's why they're poor. They have a poor mindset. So instead of figuring out how to raise money, it's just really easy to be a loser. And I call it losers. It pisses them off. Because we all have the power, if we wanted to not be poor if we learned how to raise money. What I found out, the accountants and attorneys who went to the biggest schools are not the best. I have found what I'm looking for is somebody who may be a private guy who is passionate about entrepreneurship. So they're a great attorney for entrepreneurs. They're not, most attorneys are looking for the big client, like I want to work for, General Electric. What I want is the attorney and the accountant who are passionate about it being entrepreneurs. So my guys right here in Phoenix are entrepreneurs, and my accountants are entrepreneurs. Every time I hired the big name corporate and law accounting firms, I have been grossly overpaid and underserved because they're so used to doing bigger things, they don't have time for a little guy like me. It's the same with bankers. I'm looking for a banker who loves being an entrepreneur. You got to have this partnership with the banker. I dump on the financial services industry a lot, and they deserve to be dumped on, but you got to have one on your team, So my banker is the love of my life, because that's where I get my money from.
I don't know if it's good news, except to be careful. What changed my life was a book, like it did for many people. And it was this book here. It was called The Grunge of Giants. And it's by Dr. R. Buckminster Fuller. And grunge stands for Gross Universal Cash Heist. So when I was, I think, in my 30s, I went to study with Fuller. He's most well known for the geodesic dome. And I first saw his geodesic dome in Montreal, Canada, Expo 67, the World's Fair of the Future. So my classmate from school in New York, we hitchhiked up to Montreal just to see Bucky's Dome. It was a U.S. pavilion, and it blew me away. But we all have these events and teachers in our lives. And so I think the good news is that there's a teacher like you online now. The best teachers are on YouTube, not in schools anymore. And I think that's really the good news, is what we're doing is the news. What's happening in the news today is fake. It's the old news. It's tragic. This coronavirus, I don't know if it's real. I mean, the virus is real, but the media terrorism is frightening. So I've already been warned many times to stay in my lane. Don't go into medicine. Don't go into this virus. Stay teaching people with my little cash flow game. I'm talking about stay small or we'll stomp on you. So I just remember back in I first went to the Dome in Montreal at the World's Fair in 67. And I studied with Fuller in 1981, and I studied in 81, 82, and 83, and he was predicting the future. He told us what was coming. And as I've said many times to many people, it's not what I want to do. I don't do what I love. I ask myself, what does God want done? And what God wants done is real education, in my opinion, and it's financial education. And there is no real financial education in our school systems, and that's not a mistake. So that was in 81 and 83. I couldn't take it anymore. I read Grunge of Giants, and I understood it because my rich dad kept saying, somebody's messing with us. And every time you say that, you're a tin hat guy, you're an aluminum hat, you're a conspirator, you're a spaceship, you're an alien guy, and I'm just saying, no, I'm an entrepreneur. At the time, I was in rock and roll. My first date with Kim was to the Place, and she was out front having a good time, and I was in back with the attorneys negotiating a contract. So I'm not really a rock and roller, but I'm an entrepreneur. And at that time, I said, what does God want done? Not what I want to do. I love rock and roll. And what God wants done is financial education. That was my opinion. And so that was in 83. So yesterday, And so I don't know if that's what I'm supposed to do, because you'll never know. You'll never know what God wants done.
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Robert Kiyosaki, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Money never makes you rich. And so the thing is to invest in your life experiences, your mentors. If you're not willing to be the best that you can be, that's the best for you. You're an average person. Nothing wrong with being average.